it's Cody. This is bound to be an awkward video because I'm showing my face today. We're just gonna pretend like that's not there. Um, the reason I'm doing this video different than I normally do, is that this is a VR, to the Trad Witch Tag. And it was originally by, Joanna at Nomqua. I think I'm saying that right. Here on YouTube, and I just felt like it was a good little, I don't know if I'd call it a challenge, but just a good thing for me to do. This is kind of different than my normal content that you would see on here or on Instagram. This is talking about my actual witchcraft practice. So it's deeper. It's not quite so surface level, I feel like, as a lot of the stuff here on YouTube. So hopefully this isn't too awkward. So these are shit. So I'm gonna keep looking down at my notes. You're gonna notice it because I don't know how to like do it subtly. So, all right, these are 10 questions, just to kind of talk about your craft. So the first one is, what kind of craft do I practice? I would say it definitely falls under folk magic. I don't know for sure, but it's definitely not ceremonial in any way. You'll never catch me drawing chalk circles on the floor. Any of that. I don't feel like it came from a place that I'm comfortable with even doing, even if I was into that kind of thing. It was rich dudes behind closed doors doing this stuff. I have zero interest in any of that. So no, I want to do what poor old bitches were doing out there in pagan Europe, or, whatever. Yeah, so I'm gonna call it folk. I don't know if I would necessarily call it traditional, but I feel like I sort of lean that way because I'm definitely not like neo-pagan kind of, new age, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Forget neo-pagan. Not new age. Get that shit away from me. Full offense. Trying to think of how to say some of these more complex things without being a dickhead. Yeah, so probably closer to traditional and definitely folk. The next question is, what paradigm, faith, or philosophy informs my craft? I feel like I'm about to just repeat what both Namqua and Cosmic Creeper have said in their videos. Is that I used to be one thing, and now I lean a different way from that. So it's gone through a lot of changes. That's a different question. But I would say right now, maybe I do a lot of work with spirits. And I'm not completely out of the psychological sort of model of it. That, maybe these are just pieces of myself. Yeah, I used to be like, we'll wait for that question. Okay. Also, storytelling is a big part of mine. I mean, that's not like an official paradigm or anything. Yeah. All right. So the next one is, in what culture is my practice rooted? People might hate me for this one, but it's really not rooted in any specific culture. I feel like I draw kind of broadly from a lot of European practices, probably. If I had to pick the one that I think I use the most from, it's probably Celtic. While I do have ancestry within some closed practices, I still don't feel comfortable integrating any of that kind of stuff into my practices. So basically, if it's open and I like it, I'll probably just put it in there. Yeah, it's yeah. I work with a couple deities from Greek and Roman um, mythology, but certainly not. I would definitely not call myself really coming from that culture as far as the magic and my craft. Okay, so the fourth question is, how long have I been practicing and how did it all start? So I started my practice when I was 11. I was in seventh grade. I am 34 now, so that would be what, 23 years? I mean, at the beginning, it looked nothing like the shit that I'm doing now. Definitely, I did not know what I was doing. Kind of in a way that almost made it feel more real to me, though. I guess I don't know. Do you remember that SpongeBob episode where SpongeBob is really good at art and Squidward convinces him to take an art class, and then once he learns the right way to do it, he can't do it anymore? I feel like that a lot, and I think about that episode a lot, and I feel like it applies to my practice, and it probably applies to quite a few people's practices. So, when I was in seventh grade, I switched to a different school, like literally almost exactly halfway through the year, and had to make all new friends. And I met this girl, and her name was Tabitha. I don't know why I feel like that was fitting. Maybe just in my mind, I feel like that's a witchy name now, but that's beside the point. The point is that she claimed to be Wiccan, and at this point, I hadn't heard of that. I grew up in a household that was pretty much just devoid of religion. No one talked about it. I vaguely knew in like an outside way that Christians existed. I had not really met them. Um, I kind of wish that I still hadn't met them, but and this girl Tabitha had this book that she had taken from her mom. I have no idea what it was, but it had little spells in there. I mean, we didn't read any of the stuff around it. It was like literally just the spells, like get these things, and all of it was substitutions, unless it was like salt. Um, we did some shit. I don't even remember the spells that we did. Also, I first started with a tarot deck around this time. Um, my friend Tabitha said her mother was getting rid of a deck. I suspect that she stole it, but at the time I just thought, okay, this is fine. It was just RWS. And it was. We did our little readings. You know how, like, kids do when you're just reading directly from the book. And she gave that deck to me, probably because she stole it. But, and I kept it for a couple years. And then I had another friend who was into it, and I was like, well, I'm not really using this that much. So I did give the deck to her. So then I was without a deck for quite a few years. But yeah, I mean, really, that was my first foray into it. I feel like even at that time, I was more into it for almost more of a philosophical sort of approach than doing a bunch of spells to like make somebody like me or curses to kids that I didn't like. For some reason, it's just never been that much about the spell work to me. So number 5 is, what books or resources did you start with? And would I recommend these today? Okay, so this is... There was this clothing store called Mervyn's in a mall that my mother loved to go to, and I'd get dragged there all the time. And right outside of it, but like outside of the store, but inside the mall, there was this little store, and it was like a little metaphysical shop. But they had like dragon and fairy statues and things outside. Well, okay, not outside, like up the front window and things. And then they had a curtain in the back. They had tarot readers come there. That's where you could buy like the more witchy things. So there was a dragon statue. It was like a purple dragon, which was my favorite color, and it was swirled up around a sword. And I freaked out. I wanted that shit so bad. So I begged my mom, I begged my grandma to take me in there, and I got it for like a birthday or something. And since I had gone in there, I was like, okay, well, what's this? What's this? You know, going farther in, getting into the, I don't know. I feel like they put their more respectable shit up front, um, so that no one would be like, "Ew, what is this shop in the mall?" You know. So, yeah, that's where I ended up getting my first my first witchy book. Sorry, let me grab it here. Okay. Oh, shit. It's backwards. I don't know how to fix it, so you're just gonna have to live with it. This is A Witch's Book of Divination by Calla Underhill. This book was instrumental in my practice. I mean, just because I feel like the majority of my practice I do a lot of divination. And this book kind of has some of all of it. This was how I originally, let me see if I can find the pages. There's a place in here where it talks about each of the tarot cards. I don't know if I would really call them accurate or the way that I read them now. But it's got that. It's got the Elder Futhark runes. Shit, I just saw it. Hold on. Nope, that's it. Okay. Color correspondences that I had. So this is how I actually started reading the Elder Futhark runes before really getting serious about tarot. So this is how I read them. Looking at them now is kind of funny. I mean, I don't feel like they're necessarily wrong, but that's the first shit I was doing. My first set of runes was literally rocks from my alley, like the kind you buy in bulk and have just like dumped out of a dump truck. So they weren't like round or nice or anything, but I picked the ones with like the flattest surfaces I could find. And I painted the runes on there with nail polish. I've since thrown them away or something. I still have the bag that I had them in, which as a child I was really into Harry Potter. Now fuck J.K. Rowling and her stupid ass book. There's so much better out there, and there's no reason to give money or time or anything to that bitch. But I was really into it at that time, and I had like a little drawstring cloth bag that came with every flavor. Oh, Birdie Bot's every flavor bean, jelly beans, or some shit like that, and I kept them in there. I still have the bag somewhere. I don't know where it is. It's held up for like at least 15 years. But yeah, so my first rune set was me reading out of this sucker. Somewhere in here is the tarot. So that's there's still some things in here that I might kind of like to do. There's one where you like paint a little diagram in the bottom of like a wooden box, and then you put a stone in there and you like rattle it around, and then you open it up and see where it landed, and what it landed on is like your answer or something. That's still kind of cool, and someday I might do it. Okay, so this would I recommend this to other people? I haven't read it recently. I don't know exactly how accurate a lot of the shit in here. I mean, this was what, 90s? What year was this? 1996. And it was still when I got it. Because the lady was like, you might like this. So, I feel like this has a little bit of a lot of things that I do in my current practice. But that being said, I'm sure that there are other books that are probably more recent, less cultural appropriate-y, maybe. I mean, I'm sure shit like smudging comes up in here. I'm just positive, even though I haven't read it. So yeah, I don't know if I would recommend this. Probably not. Nah. All right. The other thing that I had was, okay, this is a recent one. Okay, the Llewellyn's Witch's Date book. This is from 2020, but I had one from way long ago, and I think it was even like out of date when I got it, because I got it at there's a store called The Ark that's like local to me. It's my favorite like secondhand shop. It's just like a Goodwill. Um, and I found one of these. I don't remember what year it was. Nothing. I looked through this and I really did not know what I was even looking at. A lot of the stuff was over my head because I just didn't have the foundation um, to know what I was looking at. So some of these, I didn't really understand this stuff, you know, like full moon in Virgo. I knew I was a Sagittarius. I didn't even know there were other signs. I only knew my sun sign, Ostara and Temperance. But every once in a while in these, there will be a little spell. And there was one that I was convinced myself that I was going to do, but it required wine. And I grew up in a house with no alcohol whatsoever in it. Like nothing. None. I did not know that my parents ever took a drink of alcohol. So I also, like, we couldn't afford shit like grape juice, so I just used Kool-Aid. And I did this. I don't even remember what it was. It was probably some Lunasa shit, because I remember it was kind of like autumn stuff, and I really liked it. At one point, I think when I was moving out of my childhood home into my own place, that I found the book, and I tore out a couple pages that I was convinced that were still useful to me that I was going to use. I don't know where those pages are. I really wish that I had them because I feel like the Kool-Aid one was really funny and I wish I still had it. So that's where it started. The resources that I had, and I wouldn't recommend, I don't think, either of those. The Llewellyn's Witch's Date book is a weird one to even count as a resource, but to me it was like, it actually said the word witch on it, and it was mind-blowing to me. Alright, so number 6 is, how has my practice or paradigm changed over the years? So when I first started, I was literally a child, and I was very much into like ghosts and creepy shit, and I just assumed everything had some sort of spirit, so I was definitely more animistic. It was never in like a comforting way though. It was always like a scary way, like this shit's watching me. So finally, I put my practice away for a while. I met my husband. I was 16. We were in high school, and his family, his parents were really the first Christians that I had met. I didn't know that this shit was even real. I was a dumbass little kid, I guess. I don't know how I escaped this shit for so long. And I was like, at that time, I don't know, I was 16. And I was like, if he finds out about this witchcraft stuff, he's gonna dump me. So I put all my shit away. Pretty sure that must be when I got rid of the runes. Yeah, I just stopped doing a lot of the shit. So then, in this time, I was very much an atheist, like an outspoken, annoying fucking atheist. It was mostly like, I think, raging against the weird Christian shit, because the more people I met, the more I started understanding about the world around me, about the country around me, the more I was like, this shit's a problem. So it wasn't until my husband and I had been married, and we had our first child, and I was like, I am not gonna keep not doing things that are me. So I felt like he was sufficiently trapped. We were married. We had bought a house at this point. I mean, what's he gonna do? Leave me? I'm sure some people would, but he didn't. He was just like, okay. My husband was forced to go to church as a child. It's not beliefs that he carries anymore. I left his ass so fucking fast. If he was not willing to, opened his mind and shit like that to just different stuff than the bizarreness of the family that he grew up in, I wouldn't have stayed for that shit. So that being said, I wish that I hadn't put my stuff away. I mean, probably if in the first, like, year he'd seen it, he'd be like, I gotta go, bitch. But it worked out fine. I took the table that's literally my altar table right now and started putting shit on it, and that's how that went. But when I picked this back up, I was it was absolutely psychological shit all the way. I was like, there's nothing out there. There's no magical men in the sky. Anything like that. I'm not completely out of that. I think maybe like a Christian God is a thought form because there is so much given by so many people to that. Yeah, something awful out there probably fucking exists, right? I don't know about actual deity kind of stuff. I would say that mostly I think I've come back to being a lot more animistic. As far as big old gods out there, I don't really work with them much, and I don't really give a shit about them. If they're out there, that's fine. If they're not out there, good. So I've really softened a lot in my atheism coming toward this, just in like the last couple of years. Yeah, I've changed a lot just recently, and I don't know. I can't tell if it's for the better or not. And really, you could probably ask me tomorrow, and I would have a different opinion for right now. Sorry that wasn't that cool of an answer. Again, I feel like that's exactly the same thing that both Namqua and Cosmic Creeper said. So I guess it's just the same type of person picking this tag up. Alright, so number 7 out of 10 is, what does my daily irregular practice look like, and what do I do on a regular basis? You might hate this. I don't always do shit. It's irregular. For a while, I really tried to force myself to, oh my god, I have to do something every day. If you watched my tarot journal video, or I just like flipped through my disasters journal, I think it was October, the beginning of October, that I finally stopped forcing myself to do a daily draw. If I feel like I'm forced to do something, I refuse to do it. So I have kept that practice up. I don't write it down anywhere. I'm not putting that kind of stress on myself because that shit stresses me out. But I've kept doing it because I want to. And that's the key to my practice personally, is if I'm trying to push something, if I'm trying to force something, another part of me resists it, and it turns into a mess, and I don't want to do any of it, and then I have to take a break from all of it for a while till I feel better about it and I feel like picking it up again. So I don't have a practice that I make sure is regular. I just don't. The one thing that I do every day is I literally just will come out and stand at my altar. Like, I might not even necessarily be thinking any like magical thoughts. I'll come out and brush some dust off of something, or I don't know. If I draw a card, most days I do draw a card. As long as I'm not putting pressure on myself to do it. It's so yeah. I think I probably have a little bell on my altar that's always there. I think I ring that at least once a day, just for energy clearing. Other than that, I'm pretty lax about it, honestly, which probably people are gonna hate. Like, people doing this tag are probably very serious. I watched Namqua's, and hers was very, I don't know. I'm just over here doing shit. I'm just fucking around. Which is kind of, I don't know. Is that embarrassing, or am I fine? I don't know. I can't tell. So, are there aspects of my craft that I need to keep secret? And in my opinion, is secrecy important in witchcraft? I'm very open about a lot of my shit. You can see my Instagram. I'll put some pretty personal readings up there for readings that I've done for myself. I'll talk about working sometimes. For the most part, I just don't mention it on the Instagram page. It's not because I feel particularly like it needs to be secret. Um, I just don't always say shit about it. I think that there's a time and place for the secrecy in it. Um, but I'm kind of torn between the four tenets are to know, to will, to dare, and to keep silent. I don't necessarily ascribe to any of that. If I feel like telling somebody about it, I have no qualms about just telling people what the fuck I'm doing. Um, but I don't think that anyone else should be like that. I mean, I think that definitely it has its place. Some people are just more private than others. I'm an oversharer as long as I can be like self-deprecating about it. Um, I'll share fucking anything. Um, so, I mean, I have my Book of Shadows, or Grimoire, whatever the fuck you call it. I don't know the right word for it. It's a journal where I write down things that I feel like I couldn't find somewhere else. Mostly it's like the unverified personal gnosis, which is ultimately what most of my practice is about. The spirits that I have met, the spirits that I have called, the spirits that I work with. You're not going to find that shit in a book somewhere because I just found it myself out here, you know? Um, I I don't really talk about those things. I feel like mostly because I feel like it's useless to other people. Um, if it's not something that you personally have met, if it's not experiences that you have had, me sitting here telling you about it is not helpful, right? Finding your own things, your own spirits, your own personal gnosis for things. I feel like that is more important than what any book could say about spirits or anything like that. I so it's not necessarily secret per se. It's just that I feel like it's useless. So a lot of times I'm torn between showing and talking about the things that I'm doing, um, and not because I feel like not that it's not anyone's business, but just that if someone's out there and they're gonna like copy, oh, that sounds like something that I want to do too. I'm gonna do this exact same thing. It's not gonna work for them if they didn't meet the spirit, if they didn't call up this spirit, if they don't work regularly with this spirit. It's wasting everybody's time. I was going somewhere with that. I forgot. Look at my cool mug. Damn, I just almost died. It's just water in that. I just wanted a cool cup. Um. Oh, the way that I'm torn about secrecy. Is I feel like being too secretive online. I wouldn't call myself a teacher by any stretch of the imagination. Um, I don't know shit about shit to tell anyone about shit. But sometimes I feel like with the rise of I don't know how to say this without being a dickhead about it. There's been a lot of interest from younger people entering into witchcraft kind of spaces. Um, and sometimes the things that are going on there are bad shit. Do you remember when TikTok, I don't know when exactly it was, some witch talk bullshit where some kids thought they cursed the moon? Like, that's fucking stupid. You can't even curse the moon. But then equally as bad was there were people like, oh no, the moon's fucking cursed. You can't curse the moon. It doesn't work like that. Um, so it was bizarre. I feel like there's a lot of weird misinformation or people a lot of people seem to think that witchcraft is just venerating your ancestors, and it's also not that. It's not. That can be part of it, but that's not witchcraft. Ancestor veneration is ancestor veneration. So, yeah. And I feel like sometimes showing the things that I'm doing I don't know. I don't know how to say this. I think that younger witches being able to see people who have been doing this longer, um, the way they're doing things, the way they're approaching things, can be helpful to more people, creating like a sustainable and a practice that does something for them and that they will continue. I'm happy about the spread of witchcraft. I think that a lot of the ideas, and the things that come with it are important right now, to spread. But I feel like a lot of it's been watered down or just weirdness, um, just going around it. And I feel like older witches, I mean, and there's definitely witches older than me that think whatever bullshit I'm doing is fucking stupid, right? But when I was younger and starting on this path, I would have loved to have seen what people were actually doing. Social media wasn't a thing at that point. And I would have loved to see what these people were doing. So I kind of feel like by not sharing the stuff, I'm sort of sharing in the responsibility of bullshit like witch talk cursing the moon. Does that make sense? Okay, moving on. What are some of my favorite tools that I use regularly? Here's a little antler. It's kind of a wand. It's kind of a stang. It's always on my altar somewhere. It also represents one of the spirits that I work with. I've got beads. These are just like, I don't know if you can see them, strawberry quartz or some bullshit. I think it was fake. I don't think strawberry quartz is a real thing. And moonstone and tiger's eye. I use this for breath work. I don't know. It's kind of a tactile thing for me to just, bring through my fingers and kind of help me ground. This is my favorite and oldest incense burner. I burn a lot of incense. This thing is fucking nasty. Look at it. It was $2.95 when I got it. Here is my favorite crystal. This is always on my altar. I'll carry it around with me and shit. I do a lot of grounding work because I tend to get very much in my head. So when I need something to help ground me, I don't know. I use this for everything. Like, this is almost like, I use this sucker like clear quartz. Like, people are like, oh, you can just substitute clear quartz for this. Yeah, well, I'm gonna do this. I'm big into substitutions. Here's my tarot journal. This is a thing that I use daily. Obviously, tarot cards, right? Tarot readings from a bitch, so it's always gonna be, that's always a part of my practice. And then another thing, I don't even know if this counts. Okay, no, you know what? It does count. It counts to me. To me, this is part of my practice, and it is, dream work. Journaling about them and shit. This is my dream journal. Looks like shit inside. And I'm pretty sure I got this from Dollar General. Alright, sorry. I have like literally 6 more minutes until my phone is out of room for me. So what books and resources would I recommend to newbie witches interested in my kind of craft? First we have 78 Degrees of Wisdom by Rachel Pollack. Instrumental, I think, in learning to read the tarot. My practice involves a lot of card stuff. So I think this is definitely a good resource, really, for anyone. If you're even a seasoned tarot reader or witch practitioner, I recommend this book if you haven't read it. I'm going to put that to the side. Okay, you're going to hate this. Both the other people who I've seen do this tag had this book in it. This is Folk Witchcraft by Roger J. Horn. And what I like about this is it talks about old traditional witch lore. We go into things that, like, witches were accused of or admitted to during the witch trials in Europe. It encourages you to do some of your own research. Spirit flight stuff in here, meeting the devil on top of a mountain for a fucking party. It there's kind of some things I wouldn't always do. I don't know. Okay, this is not exactly a beginner book. Like, you kind of have to know a little bit about what you're doing. You're gonna be like, what the fuck is this? This is not helping me. It's like, go to your local library and look up some shit. Like, you don't need a book to tell you to do that. I don't know. I'm not explaining this well. I do recommend this. I mean, not for brand new though. I don't know if I have any books for people who are brand new. Honestly, I think that most witchcraft books out there are aimed at brand new people. Grab one. Here is another good one. This is Treading the Mill by Nigel Pearson. Again, it's very traditionally focused. I didn't read this until much more recently in my practice in the last couple of years, and I honestly wish that I had read this a lot sooner. It explained a lot of things to me that I feel like I just didn't understand. I also really like Old World Witchcraft. This is by Raven Grimassi. I think I'm saying that right. It is a little bit, he's Italian with Strega sort of roots. But I like the approach to it in here. It's not some, like, new agey bullshit. So yeah, those. The last one that I'm gonna show you. I simultaneously hate and love this book. This is Seasons of Moon and Flame. It's by Danielle Dulski. And I got this when it came out. It didn't come out that long ago. So it's not that witchcraft focused, but for me personally, a lot of my stuff is more about... This book helped me to sort of romanticize a lot of bullshit in my life. It goes through each of the 13 moons of the year, and there's like an old lady, a crone, or a hag, or whatever that you meet that tells you stories. There are little rituals and ceremonies and things in this, and I feel like the thing I hate about this book is the writing style. Can't fucking stand it. So if you can stand that, it's just very up its own ass, but I do recommend this book. There's a lot of things that, for my practice personally, it fits. So yeah, those were my recommendations. Also have on this little shawl. I crochet a lot of my spell work, so I forgot to mention this on the question about what my practice looks like. A lot of my stuff is like crocheting, making things, not magic. I've had this for years and I have not sewn in the ends, so there's that. But that too. Alright, well, that's my time and that's my answers to all the questions, so thanks for watching. Bye.